If you have been in the spiritual community for long, you will probably heard people say about spiritual ego. When people hear spiritual ego, all they hear is like bad stuff about it, bad reputation, and, you know, even demonize it. In fact, it is just a state of consciousness itself. But even with that said, we would also want to avoid ourselves to develop spiritual ego, looking down on others just because we are so called spiritually gifted or spiritually educated. However, today I want to share with you a new perspective that how we can use spiritual ego as a reflection tool. This is an experience I had straight out of an oven because I've realized something when I was doing reflection. I realized that I can use spiritual ego as a way to examine myself as well. More about that. So, without further ado, let's go. So, let me tell you my story. If you followed my video in the past, you know that I have some situation in a workplace involving two residents, two households having beef with each other. One of the parties escalated the situation more than it should have been. So this situation kind of triggered me a bit because in my perspective, like they are a bit too over, too defensive in this situation. So a part of me just wanted to contact him, of course, using my own phone line to call him and say that they are quite over already in this situation because I don't want to make myself as a management representation to confront with him with the situation. I just want to talk with him like real person to person at that time. And I must admit, during that time, I was quite annoyed and kind of had this idea of people are so full of themselves because they only think of themselves when the situation inconveniences them. And another part of me thinks of let's just seek like a third party opinion on this matter. So I kind of paused and conveyed this whole situation to ChatGPT. Like, should I do that or not? Of course, I got the answer to not do this. But the thing is, once I read through the reasons ChatGPT gave me for not to post or even communicate something like this, I was shocked with the answer. Because the answer was so simple, yet in that moment, it slipped off my mind. It is something that I always advocate for, which is always try to not have an expectations on things or people. So back to the topic that I was quite frustrated because I feel like in that moment people are so full of themselves, and I realized that I'm also subtly do this myself because I was trying to confront him just to get myself out of this sticky and difficult situation. In essence, I'm also acting like them, which is I only act to make the situation more easier for me. But yet, I'm acting like I'm self righteous, feeling that I should come and at least stop him from doing that personally. And after that, I realized that my assumption of the situation just now made me forget that empathy is needed in this situation because I know for a fact the other resident has also done something wrong in the past prior to all these beef that they had. So after remember that, I kind of can understand why that resident wants to escalate things this much. And if I were to do the confrontation, I would be just adding salt to the wound. Not only they won't listen to me, and they might get defensive and escalate the situation even more. So, this is the whole story that I want to share. So, as you can see, in this case, spiritual ego can also act like a tool that shows that what belief you are currently holding on to. If you are willing to look into it and let it to show you what fears or what limiting beliefs that you have within you. But I must admit, to use this spiritual ego as your guide, a lot of awareness and a lot of self inquiry, honest ones, honest self inquiries are needed in order for you to get a positive benefit out of it. Because nothing in this world, be it physical, material, or spiritual ideas, or psychological trauma, all this stuff, is inherently bad. Only if you were to implement some negative meaning onto it, it will only make it seem negative. If you are willing to use it positively, like how I did, you can extract the positive outcomes that will come with it. Basically, all of it comes from how you relate to things and how aware you are towards your inner state. So, the main takeaway for this video is stop demonizing and avoiding your spiritual ego. Sometimes the spiritual ego is just a tool for you to reevaluate the situation and maybe find out the remaining projections that you have. Of course, we don't want to be controlled by spiritual ego. That's why I've been saying since just now, a lot of self inquiries is needed, a lot of awareness is needed. So, yeah, this is Spirituality for Dummies, a place we master and transform ourselves. So, yeah, please leave a like, subscribe, and share this message to your friends or even your relatives, whatever you think need this the most. So, till next time, bye bye.